everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys wanted to explore covert contracts in relationships and how they're being totally messed up by all these changes in society, right?
It's like the rule book got thrown out and nobody told us.
Totally. And today we're diving into the Alpha Rebellion by Conrad Riker. This guy doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't. He's calling it a woke war against everything masculine.
And you know what? He might have a point,
Right.
right? Think about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's everywhere.
It's the Karen thing.
Yeah.
Women weaponizing victimhood.
Oh, absolutely. And don't even get me started on how the media portrays men.
Right. Like bumbling idiots. But Riker's saying it's deeper than just bad jokes,
He's saying the left has totally shifted.
It's not about class anymore.
No, it's all about identity politics.
And suddenly being a man, like a traditional man, it's like a bad thing.
Exactly, which makes a lot of men feel like
they don't belong, like they're the villains, right?
Totally.
Okay, so then Riker gets into feminism. Uh-oh, right.
Here comes the controversy.
He even calls one chapter the matriarchal menace.
Whoa.
He's basically saying that, yeah, feminism helped women, but
There were consequences.
yeah, guys are feeling it, right? Look at the MGTOW movement, men just opting out completely.
Men going their own way, walking away from relationships.
Exactly. So the question is, does that resonate with you?
Have you felt this power shift, especially in your marriage?
It gets even crazier. Riker, he goes way back looking at historical misandry.
Bias against men, systemic, throughout history.
He talks about the witch trial.
Whoa, you're going there.
He says it solidified the idea of man as the oppressor.
Right.
And then he brings up affirmative action, claims it hurts men and helps women. I mean,
It's definitely controversial.
totally. But it makes you think, about whose story gets told, right? Whose side history is on.
Absolutely. History's written by the victors, right?
Okay, then Riker gets seriously red-pilled.
Yeah.
He's talking about the left's control mechanism.
Here we go. Down the rabbit hole.
He says they control everything. The media, academia, even celebrity.
He's saying it's all connected, all part of the plan.
Right, to suppress masculinity, which, let's be honest, is kind of happening, right?
It's easy to get caught up in confirmation bias, seeing only what you want to see.
True. But think about it. How much control does the left really have over information?
That's the question, isn't it? It's where does the conspiracy end and reality begin?
Riker connects all of this to evolutionary psychology.
Makes sense, actually. It's men are hardwired to be protectors, providers.
But society's telling them not to be.
Right. Be sensitive, share the burden, which is fine, but
It goes against our nature, maybe.
it's a fascinating argument.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to covert contracts, doesn't it?
Right. Are those expectations, even unspoken ones, are they fair anymore?
Are they even working or just causing resentment, on both sides?
That's what we need to figure out. So what does Riker say guys should do about all of this, right? He can't just leave us hanging with all this doom and gloom.
He actually gets pretty practical. It's all about reclaiming masculinity,
Right.
tapping into those instincts we were just talking about,
Yeah.
that primal energy.
He's talking about hitting the gym, right?
Right.
Starting a business, being more assertive.
It's about taking control, not being passive, owning your life.
Right, which is the opposite of what woke culture tells you to do, right?
Exactly. It's almost like a rebellion, taking back your power.
Okay, so then Riker goes into this whole thing about the transgender narrative, which is obviously super sensitive.
Yeah, he walks a tightrope there.
He basically says gender is biological,
Yeah.
not just a feeling.
Right, he's going back to basics, chromosomes, hormones.
And he says the transgender movement's denying that reality.
Well, that's his perspective. But it's a complex issue, a lot of different viewpoints.
Definitely. But for Riker, it's all connected to this woke war,
He sees it as part of this bigger push to erase differences between men and women.
Right, which he thinks is bad for society.
He's worried about traditional families, the things that hold society together.
Right. Okay, so then he gets into the masculine identity crisis. This idea that men are lost, they don't know who they're supposed to be anymore.
I mean, think about it. So many traditional roles are gone, or they're being challenged.
Yeah, and the media is always portraying men as the bad guys.
It's be sensitive, be emotional, but also be tough and provide. It's confusing.
Totally. But Riker says there's hope. It's not all doom and gloom. He says men need to reclaim their masculinity.
Rediscover those core values: strength, courage, responsibility.
Yeah, be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And stand up for what you believe in.
He's talking about protecting yourself, too, from things like cancel culture, doxing.
Be ready to fight back.
Yeah.
Because the left is coming for you. That's what he's saying.
He's definitely sounding the alarm.
He even talks about the left's endgame, what they're really trying to achieve with all of this. And it's kind of scary, to be honest.
Yeah, he goes full conspiracy theory there.
He's saying they want to control everything, literally everything.
They want to control how we think, how we talk, what we believe.
It's like this Orwellian nightmare, you know?
He's definitely playing on those fears. But it's interesting to think about, right? How much power does ideology really...
Okay, so then he gets really specific. He starts naming names, like people he thinks are pushing this woke agenda.
Ooh, who's on the list?
J.K. Rowling, Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
even AOC.
Wow, he's going after some big names.
He's not afraid of anyone, that's for sure. But again, it's just his perspective.
It's important to hear different viewpoints. Do your own research.
Totally. But you got to admit, Riker's making some interesting points. Like, even if you don't agree with everything he says, it's thought-provoking.
Absolutely. He's tapping into something that a lot of men are feeling, a sense of unease, like something's not right.
So we're talking about this woke war Riker keeps bringing up, right? And how it's messing with these covert contracts, like the whole man as provider thing.
It's interesting, right? Like those old school roles. Man brings home the bacon. Woman keeps the home fires burning.
But that's not how it works anymore, is it?
Not really. Women are working. Men are expected to be more involved at home.
Which is fine, but then what happens to those unspoken agreements?
Riker thinks that's where the friction comes in. Like, expectations are changing, but nobody's talking about it.
Right, and guys are like, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for.
Exactly. And that's what he connects to the whole MGTOW thing.
Guys just saying, I'm out.
They're opting out of the whole system.
Have you ever felt that way, like in your own marriage, like, hold on, the rules changed and nobody told me?
It's a valid question. I think a lot of people feel that way, to be honest. And Riker's book, even if you don't agree with everything, it gives you a framework to, like, think about these things.
Understand what's going on.
Right. And maybe communicate better. Like, what are your expectations? What are your needs?
Okay, but Riker doesn't just complain, right? He wants men to do something about it, to, like, take back their masculine.
It's about being proactive, taking control.
Yeah, like stop being passive, stop apologizing for being a man.
He's saying embrace those strengths, that assertiveness, that leadership.
And for him, that ties into the whole woke war thing, right? It's like a way to fight back.
It's like a resistance movement.
Okay, then he goes on this whole rant about language, like how words are being used to control us.
It's the woke language trap, he calls it.
Right, he breaks down all these terms, aggressions, toxic masculinity.
And he says they're used to silence men, to make them feel ashamed of who they are.
He even talks about pronouns, like that whole debate.
He sees it as part of this bigger agenda to, like, erase the differences between men and women.
Which again, he thinks is bad. It's like messing with the natural order.
Right. So the question for you is, how do you navigate that? Especially in a marriage. Like, how do you communicate when even words are a minefield?
Okay, then things get, well, kind of dark. He talks about this matriarchal power play.
Oh boy, here we go.
He's saying women are manipulating men, using their gender to get what they want.
He gives some pretty extreme examples. False accusation, playing the victim.
I mean, come on. Not all women do that.
No, of course not. He's generalizing. But his point is that those tactics exist.
So guys need to be aware.
Exactly. Know what to look for. Know how to protect yourself.
Okay, but he's not all doom and gloom, right? He talks about this rise of masculine resistance.
He's hopeful. He thinks guys are waking up, seeing what's happening.
And pushing back.
Right. Like the men's rights movement, the whole red pill community.
Guys coming together, supporting each other.
Claiming their strength, their purpose.
He even thinks it's going beyond the internet, like into politics and stuff.
Like a real movement for change.
So yeah, the Alpha Rebellion, definitely controversial, but it's starting a conversation, getting people thinking.
And that's a good thing, right? We need to talk about these things.
Totally. We need to figure out what it means to be a man in today's world and how to navigate all these changes.
Without losing ourselves, without giving up our power.
Right. And if you want to dive deeper into Riker's take on all of this, check out the Alpha Rebellion.
It's on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.